Hello and welcome back. This is Tech Time number 4. In this episode, we'll be talking about how to set up your PowerSchool Gradebook so that when you start entering assignments and grades, that PowerSchool will figure out the grade correctly and the way that you would like it to figure the grade out. As you can see, I've already logged into PowerSchool. So everyone, either returning teachers should obviously know the information. New teachers, you should have received your login information either from Dr. Cadella or Leanne. If you have not, either let them know or let me know, and I will follow up on that. If you remember from the previous video on PowerSchool, you know the basic layout here. Underneath each of your class names is a link for PowerTeacher Pro. So you can click on one of them. It doesn't matter which one. Any one will take you into your online gradebook. So PowerTeacher Pro is your online gradebook. And that loads up. See the pretty colored dots. Okay, so here's a very, very quick tour. Okay, in the upper left-hand corner, you see it says PowerSchool. If you ever need to go back to the login page, that will take you there. You click on that, it'll take you back there. In the middle here, you see it says 8B, 8th grade homeroom, which is the class I selected to go into my gradebook for. If you click on that, it actually is a drop-down, and you can navigate between your classes. So you don't have to exit gradebook every time you want to navigate between classes. Okay. Since I'm not going to set up any grades at home, I'm actually going to navigate right now to my 6th grade social studies class. And then I don't have to worry about it. Next is a button you're going to use quite often. We're not going to talk about it a whole lot in this particular episode, but it's the Create button. If you click on the Create button, two options come up. One is assignment. So once you start assigning things to your students, tests, quizzes, projects, etc., that's what you will do to add them to your gradebook. The other one is category, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes if we get into the category weighting inside of your gradebook. Over here, there is a question mark. If you are not sure about something, you can click it. It'll take you to the help feature in the upper right-hand corner to make sure it's you. You're logged into your account. Should be your name. Below that, you see it says Q1. So we obviously have 4 marking periods. In PowerSchool, they're known as quarters. So Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. You always want to make sure if you're working in the current one. Otherwise, the view will not match what you're doing. All right. On the left-hand side here, you see some navigation areas. The top one is grading. Again, that's probably the one you're going to spend the most time in. That's where you will add assignments. That's where you will, see the grades. You'll see the averages. Again, there's nothing to show you right now, but I'm sure most of us will start entering grades, pretty soon, probably as soon as next week, I would think. Below that, you have students. So for the currently selected class, so again, my 6th grade social studies class, here is a list of the students. And you have some options. So it's currently on David. If I click on assignments, it'll give me a list of that student's assignments and their grades. It'll show me, what their final grade is, if they have anything, if they're missing anything. Again, with no grades, it's kind of nothing to look at. Comment log we don't really use. Demographics, if you remember correctly, from the previous video, this will tell you their address, their phone number, their email. So again, from inside your gradebook, you can access all the information you can from the backpack. And the other one that we use quite a bit is the quick lookup, which again is an overview of all of their grades. So let me click back to students. Progress, you can look at this and it'll give you some statistics based on what's going on with the students. Again, there's no grades, there's nothing really to show there. Reports. There are a bunch of different reports. Again, there's nothing really to show you now because there's no information in PowerSchool. You can play around with this. I know I find the student roster, which kind of prints it out, and you can kind of make boxes, and you need to check off like permission slips that they brought in stuff. So I find that pretty useful. What we're going to talk about today are the settings. All right, so click on settings, and you want to go to traditional grade settings. Now, for people who have been doing PowerSchool for a long time, you're going to like this. Finally, after all these years, they have made term weighting for Y1 the default. And I actually went and checked 3 other accounts besides mine, and it appears that is the case. So it appears we do not have to do anything for Y1. For people who are not sure what I'm talking about, the year is broken really into 5 grading terms, right? Each of the quarters, so Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. And at the end of the year, what PowerSchool does, it'll take each of those quarter grades, their final grade for each of the 4 quarters, and find out their final average. And what PowerSchool does is it's set up now to take each of the 4 quarters and make it 25% of their final grade, which I know it sounds self-evident and self-explanatory, but it wasn't the default setting until apparently this year. So I'm not going to get too deep into this. I'm just going to click on this. If you look here next to each quarter, there's a button that has a little pen or pencil on it. If you click on that, that's the edit feature. It says action, so I'm going to click on that. So this is what the Y1 should look like for everyone. Okay, you have some options within each quarter, but the diocese, this is how they want the year set up. So each quarter, as you can see, is worth 25%. So, maybe when you log on and start to mess around with your gradebook, just give this a quick look. If for some reason your Y1 does not look like this, please let me know and we can get it straightened out. But I'm not going to waste too much time on this now, since again, it does appear to be the default. So I'm going to click Save. So now we're going to move on to each quarter. Okay, so each of you probably have in your head, most of returning teachers know, what you do, and the new teachers, you can think about how it is you want to arrive at your final grades, and we can sit down and talk about it, and you think about how you want to do it, and then if you're not sure how to enter in PowerSchool, you can talk to me and we can come up with a solution that best suits your needs. All right. Now, again, I gave you good news a minute ago. The bad news, as usual, is that it does not carry over from year to year. So teachers, you do have to enter this. Again, also, if you remember years ago, we had the copy feature where you could copy between quarters and between classes. That also is no longer here. So, but this really should not take all that long. So once again, I'm on Q1, and I'm going to go click on Actions. Okay, so the default, and I was messing around with this a minute ago, that's why I changed. The default is total points. Total points is fairly simple. It basically just takes up all of the grades you enter and divides by whatever. So if you have 7 grades, it doesn't differentiate. So let's say you don't want to differentiate between quizzes and tests, projects, labs, whatever. You just want to say, all right, they're all worth 100 points. So I do 2 quizzes and 3 tests, a project and a lab. That's 7 grades. Pick the 7 grades, divided by 7. It's basically a straight average. You can mess around with the point values. If you want to give something 100 or something 50, you can accomplish the same thing by playing around with the weight here. So say you want a test to count twice as much, you would give it a weight of 2. Again, most of us are going to use category weighting, but it's totally up to you. Special teachers, I would think total points is probably the way you're going to go, most of you, unless you're going to grade individual assignments. And again, in that case, you may want to go category rating as well. So again, total points basically is it doesn't differentiate between types of assignments. It just figures out straight average based on the math. All right. So if you're doing that, that is the default for each of the marking periods. You don't have to do anything. You can save it, X out, stop the video, go on with your life. If you're not going to do that, we don't use standards weighting, so you can skip down here to category weighting. And what category weighting is in my example a minute ago. So let's say, well, I'll give you an example from my social studies class. I have projects, I have tests, and I have quizzes. Okay? Projects are the biggest part of my grade. All right? I believe I have projects at 50%. Actually, I think projects are 40%, and tests and quizzes are each 30%. At least I think that's what it was. So here is how you would do this. Okay, so you're in category weighting. So there are some defaults here. All right, I actually have my list narrowed down to 3. There are more in the defaults. I can show you guys in a minute how to add and take out categories. So one of mine is a project. Okay, so that's already there. If I want to add another category, I come up here, and there's, again, they make these things as small as possible. A little plus sign. If you click the plus sign, another layer comes up here. I'll click category weightings again, and it's test, category weighting again, it's quiz. Now again, it sets the weight automatically to 1 each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make projects 40, test 30, quizzes 30. And I'm going to click save. It goes back to the screen. I'm going to go back into Actions again just to double check this. And you can see now my percent. So when I start entering my grades, projects will be worth 40% of their final grade, tests will be worth 30, and quizzes will be worth 30. Okay. If you notice up here, there's a feature to drop scores. So you can select drop either the lowest overall score, and you can set the number, drop their 1, 2, 3 lowest overall scores, or you can do it by category. So you can say, like, I tend to drop my lowest quiz grade. So I'm going to go to quizzes, drop the low one, and click save. And this way it'll do it automatically for me. All right, let me go down to Q2 here to show you again kind of what I just did. I'm just going to repeat it. All right, again, I am using category weighting. Products are there, defaults, or I mean, add one, plus tests, plus category weighting, quiz. Again, I'm going to change the weights to, I just use the percentages because it's easier, 40, 30, 30, click save. I'm going to go back in, drop low score, select category, quiz, it's 1, and click save. Okay. Now again, I need to do that now for Q3 and Q4. I also need to go in to each of my other classes and set them up in the same manner. Okay. So I'm actually going to pause this for a moment and work on categories in a second. Okay, as I mentioned a minute ago, I only use 3 categories, so I have edited my categories to only reflect those categories. To edit your categories, you're going to go back to settings. I apologize. You're going to go to grading, and you're going to go to categories. So as you can see, these are the 3 I have. Up here in the upper right-hand corner is a box that says show inactive. So you can't really delete them, but you can make ones you don't use inactive. Okay? So again, some of the, I guess the default ones would be homework, classwork, math drill, participation, homework, class participation. You know, one of the things we've learned is that you can't get rid of categories you've used in the past. So the things in gradebook, so years ago I taught math in 5th grade and I did 5th grade math drill. So I have to keep it as a category. I can hide it, I can make it inactive, but I can't get rid of it. All right? So let me go back. All right, so these are my active ones. If you remember back at the beginning of the video a couple minutes ago, I showed you how to create a category. So you go to click create, you're going to click category. Okay. So you want to give it a name. So let's say I'm going to call it Science Lab. Okay. Up here, you can select what classes you want to assign it to. You can assign it to just one class, or you can assign it to all of your classes. So for now, I'm going to assign it to all of them. And click Save. Now I'm going to go back in and edit that. You can assign it a color, so whatever color you like. I don't think I'm using green, so I'll put green there for a minute. Again, this is where you can change it from active to inactive. If you want, down here you can write a description of it that the students and parents will see on Powerschool. That's pretty self-explanatory. So after you've done that, up here on top, next to category is assign defaults. Okay? So the score type you want in most cases is going to be points. And if your default's going to be 100, type 100. Publish assignment immediately, publish, okay? And then you can look at all your things. So again, your category, name it, select the color, select your classes. The defaults, you usually want to go to points and enter the points. Again, maybe if you're doing total points and you want your labs to be worth 50 points each, make your default 50. This will save you a couple seconds every time you enter a new assignment, when you want to, enter the assignment for to grade when the students do the work. You also can have things on here. It says publish scores. So maybe you want to enter the scores but not publish them until later. You also have a feature count in final grade. So maybe you want to use something in your homeroom to keep track of, let's say you're going on a trip and you want to use Powerschool to keep track of the permission slips. Okay, so you can uncheck that and have it not count in the final grade. Or maybe you have an activity that maybe you're using as formative assessment that you want students to see or parents to see how they're doing, but you don't want this to count in their grades. You can do this at this level, at the category level, or you can do that at the assignment level. All right, so I will do a separate video on how to enter assignments maybe today or if not next week. Okay. So let me click save. Make sure you always click save. What's good about PowerSchool is that if you don't click save, it normally will give you a warning to make sure that, hey, are you sure you want to do this without saving it? So it's actually pretty cool. All right. So again, let me just remind you of a couple things. Your settings, traditional grade calculations. Okay, again, Y1 should be set to term weighting. If for some reason it's not, please let me know. In each quarter, all right, you need to choose between total points and category weighting. I use category weighting, so I'm going to switch that to category weighting. It has projects. I will change that to category weighting test and category weighting quiz. Change my percentages. Drop my lowest quiz. And away we go. Alright, so that'll pretty much wrap up this one. Thank you for watching. I know I got 7 views on the first video. And I realized I think one of those was me checking how many views I had. But hey, it counts. Also, don't be shy. You can click the like button. I don't really get anything for it, but it does make me feel good about myself, so that never hurts. Again, be on the lookout. I will do one about entering assignments soon. And if you have any questions about PowerSchool or anything else, please let me know. What I will do too is probably next week or the week after, I will make myself available one day after school, like I've done in the past. And anyone who wants to come and sit, maybe we can use the computer lab or another room, and anyone who wants to kind of sit and work on their gradebook, I can be there to kind of to help and guide you, not necessarily a class, but maybe like a like a workshop where you guys can work on stuff and you can ask me questions. Because again, I'm sure some newer teachers have some questions about how you want to calculate your grade and then how we can do that in PowerSchool. All right, so again, please be on the lookout for the next video. Don't be afraid to click like, and I will talk to everybody soon. Thank you.